Hi, so we're going to look at laptops and Omarchy. So laptops are interesting bits of technology, aren't they? They make you make so many compromises. Especially, you need portability, but your screen size, your GPU, and all this. It's all about compromise with a laptop around some very rigid sort of technical or mechanical sort of issues like heat and battery life and all that kind of stuff. So when you do a base install of Omarchy onto a laptop, it sort of may not be configured correctly for maximum performance. And now it's got power saving and performance modes in there, but there's a bit more you can do, especially if you've got a gaming laptop. Now, I had to get this thingy here, which is a Acer Nitro 14 to do the development work on my game script. However, it's quite low powered. The symbol here that looks like something from Stargate actually probably stands for potato, because it's a 6 gigabyte 3060 with some kind of Ryzen chip in it, and it's it's got 120 hertz refresh rate screen, which is 1920 by 1200. But it's not like, when it comes to white things, I didn't want a white one, but I got one. I've owned some great white things. I'm going to show you a white thing that's really cool. Okay, so this is a Minolta camera, and Japan, bit of trivia, Japan was the first nation to put a civilian in space, and they sent a journalist, and they sent him with one of these cameras. So Minolta made about 10,000 of those white space cameras, so that to commemorate it. And also red, when they make first edition of their new cameras, red camera, they make a white one. However, this doesn't follow in the sort of tradition of cool white things. I mean, they always call these stormtroopers. This does fulfill the stormtrooper thing of missing the mark completely, because it's not a great laptop at all. And I use it in my testing, and I've sort of thought there must be more I can do with this. And I thought to myself, let's have a look. Let's have a look what else you can do. Now, when I was doing this, I realized just basically by default, Omarchy's not set up properly for certain things. So I thought we'd have a look at that. And then specifically for these Acer machines, and this may happen on other laptops as well, they're very much designed for Windows software. So they're very much designed for you to have a Windows application to increase performance. That doesn't exist on Linux. So there are some ways around it. Now, this one especially has got a sort of power key here. You can see it, there's a key there, and it's the Predator key or the NitroSense key. Now, on a base installation of Omarchy, that just doesn't work. It's not functional whatsoever. You can press it on here, and it's just glowing orange at me. Now, what you're supposed to do with this is be able to press it and increase the power that's going to the GPU, which you can't do that. So the mission, if we choose to accept it, is to take this piece of potato hardware here and do as much as we can to give it as much performance. So that's what we're going to do in the video. I've got the fresh install of Omarchy on here. I'll take you through the steps. Now, one of them you can do on any laptop with an NVIDIA card, because it may not be set up, and Omarchy doesn't set this up from basic installation. And the next step is something specific to Acer. If you've got one of these Acer Predator Nitro laptops that you can do to hook that key back up and make it work. Anyway, with that massive preamble and some bits of history shown to you, let's dive in. Okay, so I'm in a base install of Omarchy. I've not done anything. I've got loads of terminals open. It's terminal chaos. Anyway, so what you've got, if you go to setup, you've got power profiles. Now you can select them to power saver, balance, or performance. Now, on this machine, I don't know why, it just doesn't do anything at all. And you can see it here. If I drop this command, let's do NVIDIA -SMI, and this shows you the power consumption. 35 watts down here is what the ceiling is. And you can actually just check what your power is by using this command as well, which is NVIDIA-SMI -Q power D. That's why I have to copy and paste it, because it's so ridiculously long, but it tells you the current power limit is 35 watts. Now, I know that in this machine, in Windows, it can take 60 watts into the 3060, but it can't do it in this configuration. So there's one thing that we can do before we start to get a bit deeper with it specifically, is switch on, and I'm going to open it up. I've written a little script for it, open with NeoVim. So basically what this does, this sets NVIDIA powered D on the end, or toggles it on and off. Now what this does, it's like dynamic boost. Depending on your power profile, if you're allowed, now you can set like, on some CPUs, you can actually set it in the NVIDIA SMI setting and say, I want to use 60 watts. And it will open up the envelope, and then it will dynamically use up to that 60 watts. Doesn't do it on this. Acer have locked that off. You're not allowed to do it. However, you can get a little bit more juice out of systems. But what would happen is basically, depending on how you're configured, you may just be locked to the bottom, to the absolute bottom of the ROM, which is the slowest power profile. I've just changed it to performance and it's still saying 35 watts for the GPU. Anyway, so let's get out of NeoVim. Huge sigh of relief leaving NeoVim. Anyway, and then let's toggle on this. Now, all I need to do with this, I just need to run it, and it will now toggle on the powered start dynamic boost thing, which should give. Now, if you've got, as I said, if your system allows this, you could have a lot more. On mine, it gives you very little. So actually, let's turn it off, and I'll run a quick test to show you. Right, so run it again. This will turn it off, and let's run run gravity. Now this is just a benchmark thing. Here it goes, and it launches up. Now you can see my power draw is sitting at 35, 34 up there. If you can see it, that's all I'm going to get out of this. 35 watts of GPU power. However, if I quit that out, and now I run my power toggle, that's on, and then I run gravity again. We've got a tiny bit more. Hang on, it does. It goes up to about 38, 39. It'll let me go up to 40 watts. Just with that tiny command, I've got, 35. I've got like 5 more watts towards the GPU. So you could do a bit more, but then there's a next step. But what I think is the best thing to do is I'm going to jump into the games launcher quickly. I'll be back in a second, and I'll show you currently, even with that switched on, the performance in a game. And then what we'll do is we'll bring in my mod thing, my Acer thing, which basically fires up the turbo key on that and allows you to have access to the power. And then we'll do another run. So bear with me. I'm just going to jump into the games launcher, and I'll meet you back in Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, so I've launched up there. I've installed the games launcher. If you want this games launcher, it's on the channel and one of the videos. There's a link to download it. Just got to set it up. Menu, settings, display, automatic resolution, that. No, we don't want that. We want automatic resolution to be 256. Keep. But we want the game resolution to lock off at 1920 by 1080. There we go. I want to switch off HDR. If I was on my other machine, obviously I'd have a higher resolution, but this is just the potato. So let's come out of that, and then just set up our overlays, advanced view, turn off frame cap. Good to go. So now he says, wrong key, Cyberpunk. So I'm going to set this to use Proton GE, properties, compatibility, Proton GE, and then play. And this should launch up. So what we'll do, I'll just do the bench in this, then we'll come out of the games launcher, and then we'll run my Acer mod, which will require me punching the key down there to get it to go into Cloud Air for Doom Dark Ages, get it to go into like its high velocity mode. Now I'll talk through what I'm going to do when I run that script. I mean, and what I'll do is I'll put the scripts, both of them. The Acer one is only for Acer computers with the Nitros and the Predator laptops. The other one though, that little script that toggles the power thing on and off, I'll put that in a link in the description, and then you can have that as well as the Acer script. But it won't work obviously on a MSI or something like that. But if you've got an Acer computer with one of those buttons, then it may be handy for you. But the other one, you can see you get a little bit more performance. But I don't know how it works on other systems, but Omarchy just doesn't set it up for you to use it from default. I mean, obviously it's taking the middle road where you could have AMD, you could have Intel, you could have this. I mean, even though it's installed the NVIDIA elements for you, it's not going to give you that powered thing. It's installed with the setup, but it's not configured to run. So you can just switch this on. Right, hang on, just get into Cyberpunk. And you can see it's all falling to pieces over there. I can look 20 frames per second. So, and what we're going to do, we're going to run it in default Steam Deck. So I'm not going to do anything. And one of the other things is, because it's quite an old 3060, DLSS isn't always the best choice. FSR works a lot better sometimes, which it shouldn't, but it does, bless it, on certain things. Like I was trying Returnal earlier on, and you get 10 more frames per second on FSR than you do on DLSS. Right, so settings. Let's go into video, turn off the frame cap, and in graphics, we've got Steam Deck. Absolutely leave it at default, and I'll run it. Okay, benchmark. And see, we get, yeah, confirm. So it's on Steam Deck, which is obviously a much smaller screen, and it's got everything designed for a much less powerful processor than this, whatever's in this thing. I might do a fast fetch in a minute so we can work out what we're actually dealing with here. I spent more time in this benchmark than I have in the game, I think. Here we go. What do we got? 47, 50. But you can see at the top here, even with my thing, I can't move the cursor, even with my little tweak, I've got 40 watts power. GPU 0 is the 3060. So you've got just about topping out at 39, 40 watts. Now, if I hadn't run that, that would be locked to 35 because that's all it was being allowed to have. So now, here we go. 37. So that first one, the NVIDIA powered thing, is well worth playing with to see if you're allowed to have a bit more power on the profile. I mean, obviously this is governed by heat, stuff like that. I mean, I've had other laptops in the past where I've had to run them upside down because the ventilation was so bad on them. They're not so bad now. I mean, that one, I don't know if I've ever tried it upside down, but the fans were so bad. You'd have to game with it the other way up because the thermals were awful. Okay, so 57.49. Okay, so let's exit to main menu, confirm. And then I'm going to come out of this and we'll go on to the desktop. It may black out a moment when we come back to desktop mode. Okay, quick game. Come on. Here we go. So it's Super Shift R to return to desktop. That should eventually bring us back to the desktop. A bit slow on a laptop because it's got two screens to work out where to send the picture, which was the killer when I was writing the game script because it could never figure out which way, where it should go. There it is. Okay, so make sure the mouse is over here. We need files. Actually, let's do it the other way around. We need a terminal and then we need files. And then in the downloads, now I've got the setup Acer Turbo. Now this requires a reboot. So let's just drag that over here. Yep. Now it won't work. So what you have to do, there's an Acer interface and you have to set 1 to open it up so that the button can actually, so you can access it. So we need to reboot this. And this will actually do it. Since it's booting up again. Now, the key colors are a big thing in this video. The key presses on this is ridiculous. Green is the lowest power state. Then there's amber. Hang on, I've just got to do the power. Let's go in. Amber is the next one up. Red, which you'd think was, that'd be the top one. No, it's not. the next one up is purple. Purple gives you 60 watts. Password. I've got the laptop thrown on the floor next to all the cables. I'm going to tidy up at the weekend here. I've got a new Fractal Era 2 case coming. And I'm going to rehouse the whole rig because I can never get in to switch the cards out in the box I've got at the moment. So I'm going to try that. Anyway, so okay, make sure I get the mouse over here. All right, so now we need to go and run the script again. So do that, do this, downloads, and then we run it again. Okay, so it's now saying the platform profile set to performance. So what this does, this script does both. It turns on the power profile, the powered thing that we just did at the independent bit, and it also switches on the embedded controller in the laptop to allow me to cycle through the buttons. So I'm going to do that. So at the moment, so green, press again, white, orange, red, purple. So if I now do that command again, which I've put here for my own testing pleasure, current power limit is 60 watts. So basically now I've increased my power envelope by 20 watts. So with that in mind, let's just benchmark. Let's go Super Shift S and go into the games mode, and we'll try Cyberpunk again and see what we get. But yeah, I mean, you've just given it, allowed the CPU, the GPU to have 20 watts more power than what it was. Sounds ridiculous amount of power, like a light bulb's 80 watts, isn't it? 20 watts, whatever. But in games, but this extra is quite a lot for it to play with. Now let's see how much we get. It might not be huge, it might be 10 frames, it might be 15 frames, but that's enough for taking a game that's like just on the edge of unplayable to being totally playable. So it means a lot with this, but it's just annoying that because you've chosen to use Linux, everything like these gaming laptops are designed for Windows systems. They've got Windows, Omarchy, and all these kind of weird bits of software that they produce to boost performance don't necessarily carry over to Linux. So at the top there, I can originally see my GPU 0 is at 44 watts, 53, 58 watts already. All right, let's quickly do this. Settings, video, that's all the same. Graphics, all the same. And let's benchmark it. Confirm. The fans have gone ballistic in that thing, which is fine. I don't care. I mean, the thing is, I'd rather the game ran faster, put a pair of headphones on, let the fans, do what they want. 56, yeah. So now again, the full 60 watts the card can do. So we're at 65, 62. And the GPU 0 is topped out at 56. So it's using more power, so I'm getting obviously more performance out of it. But yeah, I mean, it's a big difference at this low end. I mean, you have to worry about this with high-end laptops here, with high-end cards, but this right on the edge of being playable and it not being playable, it's important to get the most out of the hardware. I saw an 80 then. I think I saw an 80. Didn't last long though, did it? A nice flat frame graph. I mean, this is upscaling on a 4K display as well, so it doesn't look too beautiful. But I don't know. Here we go. What are we going to get? 66. I think that was 10 frames per second faster. I think so. So that's a good increase. That is a good 66 from 50, whatever it was, 55 or something before. That's a good 10 frames. So it can make a lot of difference. All right, so just come back to me to finish off. So yeah, so Omarchy, great. Okay, it's obviously it's designed for programmers, isn't it? It's built for programmers. DHH is a programmer. Let me just come out of this. I've got strange noises going on in the background. Quick game. And power it down. There we go. So yes, I mean, this isn't a games platform. Omarchy is designed to be quite general purpose, but it's focused on development. So out of the box, it's very performant, really good. But for a laptop like this, we've got different configurations. I don't know how this works with AMD. I don't know how the power bit works with AMD or Intel for that matter. But you need to have a dig around. That powered thing gives you a little bit more performance. I mean, what? That's probably like a couple more frames. And with all this stuff, it's incremental, isn't it? So if you can get 60 watts, I mean, otherwise that thing literally would be locked at 35 watts and would be, I mean, you can run that game, but you look at the difference. You've got a reasonable amount of performance increase just from adding a command. So what I'll do, I'll put the link to the Acer one in the description and the really basic one to flip on and off. But you can do it's a one-line command, a sudo command. But you can just run it and switch your powered thing on and off and see if you get a bit more performance. And also, obviously have a look at your NVIDIA SMI thing. That command, I might put it in the description. But you just run it and you can see the top level power profile of your card and what it can do. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I mean, it's as I said at the beginning, like laptops are always a concession. They're always a sort of battle on there. It's like screen size, RAM, graphics capabilities, and cost. And this swirling mess, and you never end up. If you're young and you haven't got loads of money, but you want to play games, you've got to do student stuff. It can be a bit of a tricky decision, And so what you want to do is try and get as much out of your hardware as possible. And just to do a bit of research. I mean, with this, I never intended to get a PC gaming laptop because I've got too many other computers to play with. But it is important, I suppose, when you're down at that level with those 15, 20 frames, take you from, awful to okay. Anyway, I hope that helps. Got any questions about it, just give me a shout. I can't help you on any other power demands on any other laptops because I don't have another one to play with. If I had an MSI or whatever, I'd be able to look at them and I'd be able to go, okay, we could do that with it and write a script to get around it. But for that script should work on any of the Acers with the Predator or Nitro button. It should it installs and exposes it so it's usable again. Otherwise, you're left with like a button that does nothing. Anyway, as usual, thanks for watching.